Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Backspace. It's been a while since we've got our last one, but we've got a really awesome guest this time. It's Megan Aldridge. Hello, Megan.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you for coming on here. Could you introduce yourself for those people who may not know who are watching?
Absolutely. Well, hello friends. My name is Megan Aldridge. I am a proofreader and recently published author of the book right here, Queendom of Chaos. It's a dark fantasy historical romance, and it's so weird to still say that I'm a published author now because it's something I've been working towards since like childhood, but it's so awesome. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you on. And yeah, that feeling of just like being published but still like not quite comprehending it, it's gonna last a long time. Origin stories. Your characters have got them. Of course, the author's got to have them too. So let's start. Let's start from the beginning. When did you first find out that you were into writing and that being a published author was a goal of yours?
I would say at a very young age, I was writing stories any chance that I could. In elementary school, we would have these assignments. And a lot of times they would say, okay, here's a creative assignment, do what you want with it. You know, you can draw or you can do all these other sorts of things. And I was always just writing stories about them. So I was looking through my closet earlier today, and it's so weird the things that we keep from childhood, but I actually found one of my assignments. I think this is from like 5th or 6th grade, where we were supposed to go through and we had like this number and we had to do, you know, like the multiples and the factors and all that sort of stuff to describe your number. I don't know. It was like this very weird assignment, but they gave us like creative freedom with it. And I was like, I'll write a book about a number. And so you guys are all going to see like my nerdiness come out, but here's my book.
Oh my gosh. I love
the Journey of number 48. And yeah, you can see, you know, I've got all my equations in there and everything. And like, I didn't just go for one page. I went for like a story here. So that really was like, you know, anytime I had the opportunity, I really was just writing anything I could all the time.
That's incredible that like you managed to have the opportunity to be able to think so outside of the box and creatively with your assignments. I would have never thought to do like an entire short story based on like number factorials and stuff like that. Yeah. That is really, really cool. What stories or books, films, whatever kind of storytelling thing has inspired you and the kinds of stories that you write?
Well, I was looking on my bookshelf and I was like, you know what? I have a lot of these books with me that like have given me inspiration. And so I'll just kind of show them to you if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the very first books that I ever read was The Trumpet of the Swan. And I remember reading this, I think I was in kindergarten, and I was like so proud of myself because this is like a legit chapter book. And I was like 5 years old reading this, and it really like gave me that love of reading. Like I can do this and it's something I enjoy. So it really started here, I think, with this book. My mom would like open it and read it with me. And if there was like a word I didn't know or something, she would like help me along. But yeah, so it was like probably, you know, 50-50 that we actually read it. But I do remember just like being so proud of myself reading this book. Another book that really inspired my love of reading and writing. So I was in this like summer library, you know, reading program, and they had this competition where they were going to pull from everyone who like, you know, read a certain amount of books. You'd be entered into this drawing to receive a free book. And it's like the one time in my life I've ever won anything, and I won that drawing. And so I got this book here.
Whoa.
And it's so beautiful. Let me show you how beautiful this is. But like, look at that. And I just thought it was so cool. And I have read this at least 10 million times. It just really got me into it. You know, you watch Cinderella or these Disney movies, but like when you read it, it's just like this other part. You get to go a little deeper into the story. And so I think that's really where it showed me that I didn't just have to watch these on the screen. You know, I really could get into these stories. This was one that I've read so many times before, as you can like tell that it's like super beaten up. But like this was one you probably never heard of it. It's Absolutely Normal Chaos. I have that one. This book, did you ever read the Dear America books?
No, we probably didn't have them
Might
here in
be
New
too
Zealand.
young, but they're just like these historical fiction novels where they're like written as diaries from these girls in history, but they're not actual people.
Yeah, we had something similar, but I don't think it was called Dear America. It was called something else, but we did have something very, very similar.
Okay, yeah. So this, and I'll show you this other really weird thing. Okay, I'm like bringing all my nerdiness out today. But, so that book actually inspired me to write my own Dear America book when I was a kid. And so this one's a lot longer. I don't know, it's probably like 15, 20 pages. But it really, I think that was the first time, it was like fan fiction. Like, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was like writing Dear America fan fiction. So. And as far as like actually getting me into my genre, I think that was in like high school when I read this amazing book. I love The Hunger Games, and then I watched it, and it was just like, I have to create stories. I have to create worlds like this. And so I really think that that really got me onto my, you know, it's not a fantasy book, but into that world building and creativity sort of stuff.
I've heard, I mean, of course, everyone's heard a lot about it, and I've only recently, like in the last year, like gotten into dystopia novels, and like, I don't know why I keep putting The Hunger Games off, but that's something I really, really want to get into.
You need to read it. It's so good.
Yeah, because like I'm also one of those people where it's like, I don't want to watch the adaptation if there's already a book on it.
Oh, yeah. I'm the exact same way. I'm like, I need to read it first and then I can enjoy it.
Definitely. Moving on to your actual writing-based stuff, what would you say, the hardest parts about writing or publishing? You can choose either or. What's difficult?
Okay. I feel like I always say like everything, and people are like, well, of course, everything. But I think it was just learning everything, because you can start just writing, but really to publish, you have to become everything that you didn't know you had to do. Like, I didn't know I had to research so many different things and like become my own editor and reach out to critique partners. Like, I didn't know until I reached out to critique partners what a critique partner was. I was like, okay, well, now I have to learn this part of the journey. And now I'm reading other people's things and helping them along the journey. I thought I was just writing my own book, but I guess I'm not. And so it was just like every step of the way, I was just learning more and more. And so I think just putting that all together and learning, okay, like I don't know everything. Now I have to go do this process. I think that was the hardest part, just learning all the different parts.
Yeah, and we're still learning this stuff today, and we've both got novels published, so.
Absolutely.
What about your favorite parts? There's always going to be stuff that we love about it. You're allowed to say everything. I'll let you say everything if you want.
My favorite part is when everything clicks. Like, you're trying to work out this plot hole or this character, and you're like, okay, how do I move this story? It's getting boring. It's getting kind of saggy in this part. And then something comes to your mind, and then it's just like this whirlwind, and you're just like writing like a crazy person. You're like, okay, well, I just pumped out like 10,000 words randomly, and I hadn't been writing forever, but this one idea can just set everything in motion. I think that's my favorite part.
Oh, that's such a good feeling. We can talk a little bit more about those sorts of click moments as we move on to talking about your books. So we're going to be talking about your published book, Queendom of Chaos, which is so good. You did such an amazing job. I will say it again and again. Yeah, so let's start off with your inspiration for Queendom of Chaos. What was like the little things that got you to write that novel in the first place?
Well, for this, I have another visual for you, because this little binder is like, I showed you, is my binder of stories from childhood that I, for some reason, kept. In that binder, I have this one single sheet of paper that has a bunch of like my random writing on it. I think I had to be in like middle school, maybe 6th grade when I did this. So this is like my writing from like 6th grade. But I didn't think it was anything. It was actually, I started out like a play, like you can see like act one, scene one. Like, I don't know why I was writing this play, but I read it and I'm like, you know what? I could do something with this. And I started thinking on it more and more, and just all these ideas just started coming to me. So it's really weird to be like, oh, I inspired my own writing, but I kind of did, because I have no idea what 6th grade Megan was thinking at the time. But this is really what inspired me. The opening is very, very similar to chapter 1. It starts off, it's a dark, quiet night. Only the frogs and crickets can be heard sitting by the pond. I actually had different names for them. They were Anadelia and Tarek, but that turned into Annabelle and Sam. I was really weird with names back then, so it was like the crazier the better. Are an engaged couple having a romantic evening together the night before their wedding. And it was kind of based off that. And as the characters grew more and more, I'm like, well, okay, if they're not going to have a wedding, they can't be married. I just wanted to give more tension between the two. So it was like, we can't just have them start off with a wedding and be happy. And as this goes on, there's like this flash of light, which, you know, as you have read my book, this all should sound very familiar from like the first 10 pages. But yeah, so it didn't change like a crazy amount, but it became like actually good instead of whatever, you know, this was. So
that's like really cool that you managed to like keep like all those roots of it, because when I was writing my own novel, ASTER'S CODA, it's so different from the first version. There's probably only like 2 scenes that stayed the exact same throughout the entire thing.
Yep.
So that is so cool that you managed to like keep everything the same.
And I wasn't even trying to either. Like, I had read this 3.5 years ago, and I started the journey of writing and outlining, and I did not look back at it until probably maybe a year ago. And I was like, this is exactly the same. Like, how did I manage to keep that? It was not on purpose at all. So
that is so cool that you like kept that integrity.
Yeah.
Could have also been a good sign of your like early knowledge of how to write a narrative,
right?
I guess.
I was just a genius back then, I guess.
So your novel is a historical fantasy, portal fantasy sort of thing. So can you tell us a little bit more about the historical period that you chose and why you decided to choose that particular period?
So I don't know if I had like a particular reason. I am someone who loves history, and I love looking back at different time periods. I love looking really at like the style and the fashion. So that probably played a big part into it. I was like, I love just how people look. I love the dresses that the women get to wear, and it fascinates me. So I was really looking a lot into that. And I'm someone who loves like the Victorian era too. And I'm like, well, that's been done like to death, I think. I'm like, so let's see if we can like move it up the timeline a little bit. And so it kind of keeps a little bit of that in there in 1905, but really it's this transitional period in time where we're going from that sort of world into more of a modern world, but still there's a lot of growth that's happening in the world at that time. And it just fascinated me. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's learn about it.
Why not? Let's learn about it. Ain't no better reason. But yeah, the historical fashion stuff, I follow like so much historical fashion, like based YouTubers and like influencers and stuff. I love just learning about that kind of stuff. I have to talk about this. This is like my favorite part about Queendom of Chaos. It's the villain. I love the queen so much. What was like your kind of inspiration? Because she is genuinely one of the best villains that I have read in a book in a very long time. So I just want to tell me more about your villain.
Tell me everything about her. So, okay, I will say in book 2, you're going to love it. We learn all about her past. We learn everything we need to know about her. So I think you're going to really love that. So I'm like, what can I tell you without spoiling it? So I knew that I wanted a female character just because, you know, women in fiction, we need more women in fiction. We need them in all roles. And it was very easy for me to write Annabelle because she's just like this quiet, conservative sort of girl. And I was like, you know what? I really need to push myself and write someone who's like the opposite of that, which to me, you know, Annabelle's not a self-insert at all. I have things in common with Annabelle, but she's not a self-insert. But I relate with her a lot. I am a very quiet and more conservative sort of person, and I don't swear and I don't do all these things. And so to write someone the opposite, I was like, let's just see what we can do with it. Like, let's see how far I can go. Let's see how weird I can get in my mind. And I really went very far with her. And on my first couple of drafts, people were telling me, like, she's not evil enough. Like, you need to make her more evil. And I was like, okay. So I really went for it. And people were like, okay, she's evil. You hit it. You got it. So.
And you hit it so well.
Challenge, yeah. Challenging myself. I'm like, let's just go crazy.
Yeah, that's something I really want to do more often now, I think, is just try and see how far I can push that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Without giving away spoilers for your book, what would be your favorite parts and your least favorite parts to write about Queendom of Chaos?
So least favorite is very easy because I do have a Black male character. He's the MC living in the early 1900s in the deep South America. So it's very easy to say all the hateful characters were absolutely my least favorite part. I didn't want to research them or put it on paper. I felt very weird about it, but I hired a sensitivity reader, and what I had kind of done was just like left everything blank. I was like, okay, something bad needs to happen here. Can you help me along with that? Because I just felt so weird about it. And so she really helped me come up with these ideas, what would be authentic, because you don't want to change history. You don't want to graze over it and make it something that it wasn't. And so she really did help me come up with the ideas, what would be realistic, what would be fair to the story, what readers would it hit them, but not turn them away from the story. It just be realistic enough to kind of bring you in and empathize with the characters, but not be hateful from my end. You know what I mean? Like that weird balance. So if you ever need a sensitivity reader, if you're writing something like that, absolutely do it. It's 100% worth it. She really helped me elevate that part of the story. As much as I hated writing it, I think it turned out well as far as like the written part of it. Not that it's good in itself, but. And then my favorite parts, I have a few favorite parts. I would say all the little quiet moments with Sam and Annabelle where they just get to be with each other and they have like their little inside jokes, and the times that Sam is like remembering when he's telling Mara like how he fell in love with her the first time he knew that he loved Annabelle. I loved writing that scene. It actually was not there until one of the very last drafts right before it went to the editor. And I love that scene so much. Them just talking about how he knew he loved her, and then Mara's just sitting there like a little schoolgirl, just like taking it all in. That's one of my favorites. And then I don't want to get too into it because it'll spoil it, but I'll say the arena was one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. Just like the favorites are always going to be like the softest parts and then the most intense parts. Yep. We'll move on there. That was some really, really great and insightful stuff about Queendom of Chaos, like especially having read it before. We're going to be moving on to a little quick game, something nice. Something nice, something easy, something very lighthearted. This game is basically called Hot or Not. So I've got 5 tropes that I have listed down, and we're gonna get some opinions out of you. I don't know how controversial they might be or not, but we're gonna get opinions about each of these tropes. So basically, I'm just going to say them, and then you can say whether you like them or not. You can add some reasons to them if you want to, and you're allowed to be neutral. I'll say you are allowed to be neutral on some of these. So yeah, let's go through them. So the first one we have, morally gray love interest. Are they hot or not?
See, you gave me time to think, and I'm like still so back and forth on it.
It's very back and forth for me as well,
because I love morally gray characters. They're some of my favorite characters to read and to write, and to have people look at them and be like, why are you doing this? But like doing it for love, I kind of want to say yes, but then also there's that flip side. Okay, I'm gonna say hot. I'm gonna say yes.
All right.
Sam gets there a little bit, and we'll see more of that in book 2. He gets a little crazy. but not super crazy.
Next trope we've got here is the magical school or magical academy. Is that hot or not?
Oh yeah, hot. I love it. I love that trope so much. I don't care how many times I see it. I always want to experience what that school is like. And like kids at that age who are in school, they're so unpredictable. So you can really write any story that you want about it, and it's not going to be, oh, you're writing another Harry Potter, or you're writing another School for Good and Evil, or whatever it is. Like, you can do so many different things with it. So yes, absolutely.
Enemies to lovers, is it hot or not?
Yes, hot. I am writing an enemies to lovers book right now. Actually, it's a sports romance, so completely different from Queendom of Chaos, but it's enemies to lovers, and I love it. As long as you don't go too far. A lot of the tropes do go way too far, where they're toxic and abusive, and that's totally a different story. So if you're gonna go with abuse and all that sort of stuff, then I'm gonna say not. But like just the hatred of each other for like no particular reason, I love it.
Yeah, that's always like a very like tricky one to balance. I mean, it's not tricky, but I think a lot of people seem to think it is tricky based on like how shifty it can get. Prophecies, are prophecies hot or not?
Not.
Any particular reason, or?
Oh, I'm just trying to think of like the ones that I know for sure. One of the ones that pops out immediately, obviously, is going to be Harry Potter. And so I feel like a lot of people can take that sort of prophecy and get a little too literal with it, like way too much foreshadowing with it. It can be too much, but it can be done well too. See, this is hard. Why did you pick such hard ones? I'm gonna say generally not, but I'm someone who always says that there's exceptions to every rule. So if it's done well, then yes, hot.
Oh yeah, definitely. The one bed trope where people, a couple who might be romantic, they end up going to some kind of inn or some kind of hotel room, and there's only one bed.
I mean, it's so funny still. I don't know. I think it's overdone, but it's still funny, if that makes sense. So, yes, hot. I enjoy it every time. So, yes.
Nice. You mentioned at the start of this that as well as being a recently published author, you are also a proofreader. Why did you decide to do proofreading, and why that particular style of book editing?
I think it was just a really natural fit for me. The English language is not easy. It's definitely not. I don't want to say like it came so easy to me, and it's hard. And people have different skill sets. That's one of my skills, is definitely the English language. There's a lot of things I can't do, but I know grammar, I know spelling. It just makes sense to me when I read something. I don't even always have to know the rule or look up the format. I just know in my mind, hey, this is, happening. It doesn't seem right. I think I need to change it around. And so it was something that was just, I guess, popped out at me reading books all through, even like starting in elementary school. I was always that person who my peers would ask me, hey, can you look at this? Does this look good? What I did was, when I wanted to be an author, I was like, okay, I have to come up with something in that realm where I can make the money to publish my book. And I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I randomly came across this like proofreading course. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try, see if it's a fit for me. And really the goal was just make enough money to publish my book. And it's definitely been so much more than that, where I've made so many great connections with people. I've read so many amazing indie books, and I was also able to come up with the money to publish my novel. So it really ended up being this like accidental perfect fit for me.
That is like really, really cool for me. Just like that you're able to do like both kinds of things, and like yeah, just be able to make the money to publish your book through something writing related.
Yeah. I was very, very happy about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, just books, more books. Pay me to read books.
Yeah, of course. What does a typical day in the life of a proofreader look like, at least for you?
I don't think there is a typical day. It really just depends on what story I'm reading at the time. So right now I have a romantic story. It's a romantic novella that I'm reading. It's a Christmas story, which I love Christmas stories. So I'm very happy to be reading that. And it just really depends on when the client needs it. Sometimes they give me a really long time. They're like, really take your time with it. So I'm able to do, a few pages a day. Sometimes they're like, okay, I need it like right now. And so that'll take up most of my day. So really what my day is getting up, checking my emails, making sure I don't need to contact any more clients. And if I do contact my clients, jump in and get proofreading right as soon as I can, get that done with the day. And then it's just kind of working on my author stuff, working on my books, working on marketing, working on, there's a million things out there that you can be doing at any point in time. So it's really just getting those priorities done very first thing, and then seeing how I can put more on my plate, do more.
What would be the most common mistake that you have seen as a proofreader?
I think it's just the basics. It really is. Like, people might think it's like these big, huge things that people are missing. And it's really just your commas, your apostrophes, your homonyms, like there, and your. It really is just those basic things, which again, I get that people, you're so into your writing that even if you know the rules, you're going to miss it. I have so many points where I gave my book to my copy editor and my proofreader. And I was like, oh, this is good. Like, I'm a proofreader. I got this. It's been through 100 rounds of edits. And then they're like, here's this. And I'm like, that's the dumbest mistake. Like, how? But yeah, so even if you think you're really, really good or you know everything, it's really good to have that second pair of eyes, because it is really just the basics where you're misplacing a few things. And that's what is going to jump out to readers. The small things is what's going to get you in trouble with your readers for sure.
What would be your biggest sort of piece of editing advice for anybody who would be going through self-edits, like for novels, or maybe they're doing self-edits for like essays and stuff? What would be your biggest piece of editing advice that you would give, or your most important?
I think the most important thing you can do is to look at your work in different formats. So stop just staring at it 100 times through on the same screen and the same font at the same size. You're just going through and you're looking at the same thing. So your brain is on autopilot at that point, and you're going to miss things. So if you can change up the font, make it different. If you can, if you're on Microsoft Word, there's a read aloud option, and the little robot voice is going to read to you, and you're going to catch those mistakes. You can read it out loud to yourself or to somebody, and your mouth is going to catch those spots that your brain wants to just fly past. I do that so much where I'm just reading it, and my mouth just won't say the words that are supposed to be there. And so I'll go back and I'm like, okay, it's wrong. That's why it's sounding weird. Something's up here. Or you can print it out, just print it from your computer, even if it's the same as what it looks like on your computer. It's something different for our brains to look at. So I think that's the biggest thing you can do, is just look at it differently, have different eyes and perspective on it.
Yeah, the read aloud for Microsoft Word, that was a big help for me when publishing mine. Just because that robotic voice, it's just like, it always sounds
it's unforgiving.
Weird. Yeah, it's unforgiving.
She's gonna tell you what's wrong.
Yeah, definitely. That concludes our little Backspace interview. Thank you so much for coming on, Megan. Do you have any closing words, any things you'd like to say to our little digital audience?
Yes, I do actually. So if you are a writer who's in need of editors, which is everybody who writes books, So I don't want to give everything away, but I do want to tease you. I want to let you know that something big is coming, something big is happening that I'm working on. I've been working on it for like a year now, and things are happening, things are rolling. And so in the next month-ish, I'm gonna have a super big announcement. So I'm
Nice.
excited.
Awesome. Keep an eye out for that. And also be sure to check Megan out. I'm going to put all her details down in the description, including her amazing book. So yeah, thank you so much again, Megan. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.